Hey guys, it's Miss Smith here, and I am going to be teaching you guys about suffixes today. Last week we would have went over prefixes with my students and things like that, and then now they'd be learning about suffixes. So they should have a sheet that looks similar to this. On the front is our prefix sheet, which we would have went over before, and then on the back they have common roots and suffixes, and this week is on suffixes. So this is one of the materials I would have passed out to them to be able to find meaning and examples and things like that. So for suffixes today, I would be using my Prezi that I created. It's very short and simple because I want the students to really listen and dissect the words as we go over them and make it pretty brief and simple for the 5 minutes that we're doing this. So this is my Prezi here. And it's called Suffixes. Why? Because a lot of my students are like, Miss Smith, I don't get it. Why do we do this? And so I wanted to break down 3 examples. So what are suffixes? Suffixes, to my students, I try and break it down. It's at the end. It's so simple. It's the end of a book, or it's the end of a game, or it's the end of something that makes a difference and a change, right? So suffixes are simply the end of a word to change the meaning. So I'll say, think of a football game. That last play, right? It's the end. It's going to change things, right? That's a suffix. And I like to use sports references because that's what we do in my class. So suffixes are words that are at the end of a word and change the meaning of that word. And the 3 that we're going to focus on today are ed, ly, s, and es. So s and es have the same similar backgrounds in how they work, so they're put in the same category. So I want to then break down to you ed. So ed is pretty simple. It's a suffix forming adjectives to nouns. And words such as beard, which is a noun, would be bearded, right? So now it's an adjective. It's describing something. Then you have tender to tender-hearted or tender heart, right? So things like that really change the meaning of a word from being a noun to now we can use it to describe and use descriptive language, which is what I love to do in my writing class. So ed is pretty fun in the aspect of it changes nouns into adjectives, which are really good descriptive words that I like to teach my students. Then you have s and es. So s is third person singular, right? So it makes verbs active. So examples of s and es or s first would be tables and foxes, right? So if you have a table, you add s, tables, multiple, plural. If we're talking about es, that's also plural, right? That's also the meaning. And if you're talking about foxes, like I mentioned before, so you went from fox to foxes, we're making it multiple foxes, right? So super simple there. You're just adding a plural meaning to the word and making it so it makes more sense and making it a multiple thing. And then lastly, we have ly. So you want to use ly to break down adverb endings, right? So it's simply one of those things where we break down a word using ly, and it makes it so adverbs turn into adjectives. So glad would be gladly, or gradually, or secondly, right? So those are some examples of forms, and they can get kind of tricky. A lot of my students struggle with root words, so we try and really break it down by color, and that's what we would do in this aspect as they're listening. And they would already know this method because we would be into week 2 of suffixes. So this is the breakdown for that. Then we'd go back and dissect and reflect, which is why this is all science-y. And what are suffixes? I would ask the question and engage the students, and hopefully they'd come back with, oh, it changes the meaning of a word. It's the words at the end. We would dissect ed, s, and es, and ly, and those are the definitions there. So ed is a past tense verbs, or you put it on weak verbs, then you have s and es, which is plural, multiples, and ly, adverb and ending, would be so the students can break down those and understand and dissect words, as well as they would be writing examples down as they went on their worksheet that I provided for them. So that's kind of a little bit of my presentation, and I hope you guys got a little bit of what was going on and understand how my classroom would be ran. I like to mix different things, so this is more of a science-y PowerPoint, but we're dissecting words, so I like to keep my students engaged by kind of combining different classes and things like that. So thank you guys.